with the Creation, who does most of the supernatural conventions, and when we do Saturday Night Special, where I was like, try to get us what we have in Rome, like that, the lighting and the sound, so great. These guys do a great job. Hi, how's it going? Now, I can't see anything, but thank you. So yeah, if you have a question, I'll answer.
Hi, Rob again.
Hi.
Thank you for karaoke last night, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I've actually got a question about another TV show I've been binge watching, and I saw your name in the opening credits, and I was like, where is he? Turns out you were in the pre-titles, I didn't even recognise you.
What was I in?
Well, I've got a screenshot here. Do you want me to give it to you?
Oh no. Oh yeah, that's a House. Yeah, this guy. Yeah. No beard. Small glasses.
I think that's about a year before you played Chuck. You can keep that.
Oh, thank you.
I was just wondering what it was like working on that show.
It was really fun. Yeah, a really good time. At the time it was such a big show, and I hadn't met anyone on it. And Hugh Laurie, I was just so impressed that I knew he was English, but he kept his American accent even when he wasn't filming. Apparently, as soon as he walked on the set, he was talking in an American accent because it kept him warmed up. So we were all like sitting in chairs. This is my memory of the show, is we were sitting in, the actor chairs. And he's telling some story, and he's telling it with an American accent. But the story was, in England we have this commercial, and the commercial is he's telling a story about living in England, being English, but he's telling the whole story with an American accent. And I just thought that was fascinating, because American audiences didn't know Hugh Laurie before House, and so to all of us, he was American, But I had heard he was English, but I never heard him speak with an English accent.
I know, I grew up with him in his British accent, and then I started watching House, and now it's weird to hear him have a British accent.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it was great. And there's a great, I think there's a GIF that goes around of me saying, "Oh, your House, I've heard of you," and he said, "Yeah, well, it's also a noun," something like that. So, but yeah, it was fun.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. You never know where I'm going to pop up.
Hi, first of all, thank you for being such an inspiration in the music world for me.
Oh, cool.
And at Darklight, I asked you what music genre you were afraid to try out, and your answer was musical. So now my follow-up question on that is, if you would ever write a musical, if so, what style, and what would it be about?
That's a great question. I think about that a lot, actually, because I love musicals, and I would love to adapt like a modern day, like rock or any kind of sort of modern contemporary album into a musical, like they did with the movie Once. I love that kind of thing, where Once is a great movie if you haven't seen it, an Irish movie, and they made it into a musical because it's basically, the movie is a musical, it's got all these great songs in it, but it's a very contemporary, movie, and so when you go in and you see the musical, like there's a band on stage and it's set like a pub, it's really terrific the way that they do it. I'd love to do that kind of thing, and right now they've adapted, they're doing like a version of Hamlet set to Radiohead's Hail to the Thief album, and I love that concept. That kind of thing really gets me excited. So I know they've done it with like Sufjan Stevens albums, and they've done it with, well, U2 wrote a musical, but anyway, they've done it with modern day albums that, Sufjan Stevens has an album called Illinois, and they made that into a Broadway musical. So I'd love to do that with like an album that really inspires me, and I had this great idea for a musical. There's a band I like called Pine Grove, and I had a great idea for a musical based on a Pine Grove album, and I really think that I could get the rights to do it because I know someone who knows that lead singer, and I really had this, I was inspired to do that, and then it's just kind of stalled in my head, but I'm ready to go, you know, because it's one of those things you listen now and you're like, oh, this makes me feel like this, oh yeah, and then the character does this, then this happens, this song would be perfect for that, you know. So that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to adapt a modern day album into a musical.
Please do it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are so awesome. Thanks. You guys inspire me to want to make things and do things because you help me bring it to life, you know, which makes me feel great. So. Yeah.
I was excited to see you play Cthulhu on Matt's show in Public Domain. Have you developed a character voice yet? And could you give us a preview?
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I actually Googled before.
I can barely spell it. I signed it earlier, like yesterday, and they're like, put your character name underneath. I was like, yeah, I don't know how to. It's like CHULHU. Yeah, he's kind of like, he's me, like Matt really wanted him to be me, but he's me that's a little more gruff and a little bit of a New York accent, just a little bit, because he's calling the shots, and he's the head of the bar, and he's calling the shots for everybody. And don't try that, and he's like, you don't want to see me when I'm angry. He's like that kind of thing, so that's a little bit of what he sounds like.
Sounds great.
Yeah, Matt wanted the characters to sound like you could still tell it was us doing it. It wasn't like, hey, how you doing? You know, it's like really the same. Which reminds me, I do voiceovers every once in a while, and so you have voiceover auditions. Now auditions are always like, you just do it at home and set it in. But it used to be you go into the room and audition with other actors. And it was the funniest thing, like everybody in the room like had weird voices. Like they got a lot of voiceover work because they have weird voices. They're like, you know, someone walked in and they're like, hey Jimmy, how's it going? I'm pretty good, friend. You know, everybody has these like weird sort of voices. Like, of course, they're voiceover artists, you know, they talk funny.
Hi. So I'm an artist and I'm getting ready to do a show. And as I've been packing up my pieces, it's only my second show. And I'm wondering, like, does it ever get easier? Like, do you still worry when you pack up your equipment to go to shows, or do you have somebody that does that for you?
You mean just moving your stuff?
Yeah.
Like physically moving your stuff?
Yeah, like, is it going to break? Is it going to get lost?
Right. No, it doesn't get easier.
Oh.
When we're on tour doing the Supernatural conventions, that equipment gets moved for us, which is amazing. Like it's you know, it's after years of hauling our own equipment places, it really feels good to have them do it. You show up and everything's set up. It's amazing. But normally, if there's like an outside gig that the band does or that I do personally, you got to take all your stuff. And if you're flying, you got to fly with your guitar and your pedals and everything, you know. And yeah, it's a pain. And amplifiers are heavy. So I have to put my back out several times just lifting a big heavy amp, you know. And you worry about, you know, you set it down too hard and it's like, you know, so you really don't want to damage it, but ultimately you do, just carting it around, you know.
Yeah, unless Jared picks it up.
And what?
Unless Jared picks it up.
Yeah, exactly. Even Jared, he's just a big bear, you know. He doesn't know how powerful he is, you know. But and so he'd be like this, and then he'd be like, oh wait, what? Yeah, I've made the mistake several times of like asking Jared to show me like a physical move. Like, hey, how do kickboxers like kick? He was like, with their hips. Oh, yeah. But he didn't mean to hurt me. He's just really showing me the thing. He just doesn't know how big and strong he is.
Hi, my question is actually like an extension to hers.
Okay.
So it's about packing for your trips. You obviously have a mountain. I'm sorry. You travel a lot, and I have a few travels in April and May. My question is, what is most useful thing you take with yourself on every trip, and then what is the one thing that you take but you never use?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do travel a lot, and you get pretty good at it. The thing that I always take and I never use is I've got a little speaker in my that I bought a couple years ago. Like, because there have been so many times where like we don't have anything to amplify the music, and we're just all in a group, and I want to be the guy's back. I got a speaker, you know. Or even if I'm in a hotel room by myself, sometimes they don't have a speaker, and if I'm spending a lot of time in the hotel room, I want to play music. And so I've got this little, and I never use it. I never have the chance to ever pull out my speaker. It just sits there in my backpack.
That's actually one thing that I left at home because I was thinking about,
Because they make great, very powerful little Bluetooth speakers, you know. And then the thing that I can't leave home without, that I always bring, is, I always bring to every, I always bring a tripod, like a for a camera, because I get auditions on the road, and a lot of times they're like, you need this by tomorrow or whatever, so you got to do it in your hotel room. And I had years of trying to balance my camera on like stacks of books on a coffee table, you know. So I finally invested in just a tripod that packs up pretty easily. It's like this big. I brought it with me here, and I do use that. And I'm always like, thank God I've got this tripod.
that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. And my toothbrush, man, half the time I forget my fucking toothbrush.
Yeah, and 10 pairs of underwear for a 3-day trip.
Yep, I always pack like an extra 2 pair just in case. That I always do. But the toothbrush, because it's a different thing. I got my toiletries and all that, no problem. And then I brush my teeth and I leave. Forget the toothbrush. So now I've got a whole bunch of extra toothbrushes because I have to buy a new one every time, every city.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering how you found parenting styles change from sort of first time you did it and then now with Margaret.
Oh, parenting styles, yeah. So I have a 21-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter and a 14-month-old daughter. And the biggest change is their technology has changed. So when I had children the first time, we had a monitor where you listened to what's going on. Now they've got a video monitor where you can track their heartbeat and everything else, and you can talk to them and listen to them and everything. It's freaky how much it does. But it is nice to be able to see them and go, is she okay? Oh, she's good.
My nieces say like to my mum, like, Nanny, what did you watch on your tablet when you were my age?
Yeah.
Like, they just won't ever grasp that concept of not having technology.
Yeah, and car seats have gotten better and strollers have gotten better. But I tell you, the one thing that I've learned, one of the things I've learned a lot, and I feel like I know more now, and I'm definitely a more sort of confident parent. When you have your first child, you're like, I don't know what to do. Why is he crying? But with Margaret, it's like I know everything's a phase. I know that she's going through a phase, and it will end. And so I feel like a calmer parent. But the thing that is that it's weird is that it's a racket. They try to sell you all these things you don't need. All these things that they're like, well, we're gonna need an extra, whatever it is. And like, you don't need that. I'm always telling Ruth, like, yeah, I do. You don't need that. You don't need that. Because then your house becomes like all these things you don't use. A bouncy chair and a bouncy swing and a pretend staircase and a kitchenette and another third stroller just in case. Like, you don't. It's a racket. But definitely technology has changed. I just feel like I've changed, so I'm less stressed. But other than that, the basics haven't changed. And forever humanity. It's still a wee little baby, and you still love it to death, and and the baby still wakes up a lot, and you're tired as hell, but it's worth it, you know. But yeah, that was the biggest change to me, was technology. And then that's when you realize, like, oh yeah, it's been 20 years, you know. Lots changed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I had a question, and I've actually just changed my mind of what I was going to ask you. I was actually going to say, you know, having Ruth, Steve, as a Scot, as a Brit, as your partner, and we do things very differently over there.
Yeah, for sure.
I just was wondering what kind of things that you found really fun and different, and like we speak the same language, we come from the same place almost, but we're very different.
Yeah.
What's been kind of the biggest learning of trying to become a semi-Scot?
Yeah, it's a great...
/ Brit, / knowing what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's like, was saying things like "we" in a sentence.
That's what made me change my question. Even a wee baby, I was like, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, first of all, just the language itself. It is. We always talk about like the cultural differences. They're intense because she's very Scottish. Like lived in Scotland, and you know, until 12, 13 years ago, you know, and it's still there 100%, to the point where some things that she says or does, I'm like, you've lived here long enough to know that we don't do that, you know, like my daughter turned 18, and Ruth popped a glass of champagne and poured a glass of champagne, and my daughter was like, oh, she's like, well, you're 18, aren't you? And it's like, right, we don't, it's 21 here, Ruth, and she's like, oh, no, it never, she goes, it never is. No, it is. It actually is. And, surely you knew that. Or we would go to the movies, and she asked for sweet popcorn or whatever. And I'm like, you don't.
Sweet or salty?
Yeah. And she's like, we don't do the sweet here. It's just salty. No. So that stuff is super fun. Yeah, so it's just, I still get a kick out of it because there's a part of me that very much feels like I grew up in a small town in the middle of America, and so it's still kind of exotic to me that there's this person from, you know, Scotland that I've met, you know. So every time she's super Scottish, I'm like, I just love it. But yeah, they're just different, you know, culturally being in a relationship with somebody from Scotland or even from England would be this way. It's different because you don't speak about your feelings in the same way.
We don't speak about them at all.
It's so funny, like, you know, she's so just stereotypical Scottish when it comes to that too. So if I'm like, I love you, and she's like, okay, right, so.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
how very nice of you.
Yeah. Oh, hey, so okay. The trash needs, the bin needs taken out. So yeah, and then just her words for things. You know, she says cupboard, which is a closet. It's where I hang my jackets. Is a cupboard.
It's cupboard. Yeah.
But that's not a cupboard for me. A cupboard is different, like more like where you would keep the cereal in the kitchen.
I remember at a con when someone said, "What's your favourite Christmas cookie?" And she was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What is a Christmas cookie? We have mince pies."
Yes, exactly. She really, I mean, stuff like that. She's like, what? Like, so we're constantly getting these funny conversations. Do you know what rashers? When I say rashers?
Yeah, bacon.
Like bacon?
Yeah.
And she was like, I was like, we don't have any food right now, I'm starving. She's like, we've got rashers downstairs? Like, rashers? She's like, rashers. I'm like, rashers? And she's like, oh gosh, rashers. You know, and it's some argument where I'm like in tears, like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're saying. So she thinks I have bad hearing because I'm always going, what? I'm like, it's not really my hearing so much. Oh, it is. So, yeah, so it's super fun, funny, exciting at all times. And I love meeting her friends. She's friends with a lot of Brits, you know, a lot of people from England that always come over, and that's super fun too. Yeah, I mean, I love the UK, so I love everything about it, so. So it's super fun, keeps me on my toes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My imitation of Ruth is like, you know, gruff and angry all the time, which really isn't her, but it makes me laugh. Oh, no, Rob. Do you know the story about free pour? We went and had a holiday with a lot of my college friends, and we drink when we're get together, so we're drinking and pouring ourselves cocktails all night, and then later that night I had this like weird thing with my heart. It wasn't serious, but it felt like it was. So we went to the hospital to get me checked out. It was this thing called pericarditis. It's like having a virus around your heart, and you take Advil and eventually it goes away. But she says to the doctor, she's like, oh no, it was the free pour. It was the free pour. And I was like, what? And she meant like in England they do like shot glasses to make cocktails, and we're just like go 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 go. And so to her that was the free pour. No, doctor, it was the free pour. So my friends just cracked up about that. They always say free pour. Free pour. And the wheat. That's what she said. It's good times. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you again.
And you?
So my question is, you look happy every time I see you, and I turned 40 this year, and it's disappointing for me. So I wonder, what's the best benefits of being over 40?
Of being what?
Over 40.
Over 40? Yeah.
Of being almost 40? Over 40, yeah, right. Well, why would I know that? Someone once told me when I turned 40, they were like, life begins at 40. And it was the first time I had heard that, but I think there's some truth into that. Like, I think after you turn 40, everything, everything you learn in your 20s and your 30s about what it is to be independent and to be an adult, it really starts to turn and be in your favor after 40, your life experience. And I know so many people reach their peak after 40, because I know actors that just got success in their 40s because they finally figured it out in a way. And so I think you have a lot to look forward to. And the other thing is we're not our parents' 40, Technology is changing, medicine is changing, the way we're living is changing, and I think we have the capability to live longer. So 40 is a number, it doesn't mean anything. It's how you feel inside and the life that you live. So treat your body well and look forward to being older and embrace that,
My soul is young, but my body starts falling apart.
Yeah, your body will start to, I had a stroke when I was 43, and that was a big deal because it was sort of life telling me hey, you're old now, But looking back, that was just all in my head. I healed completely, and I've lived my best life post-stroke, and I've appreciated life a lot more. And so, just keep treating your body well, and your body will respond well, and just keep being young in your mind, I'm 54, that doesn't seem possible. I feel still like a teenager, and so, yeah, so why not? So what? What's 54? It's not what my dad was at 54, I'm a different person. I know some of my friends are well, I'm about ready to retire, call it quits. I'm you're out of your fucking mind. I'm still going for it. I haven't reached I got a lot that I want to do, with my life. I haven't reached all my goals yet. So keep at it. Keep setting goals for yourself and keep going, because it's just a number.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you look great.
Hello.
Hi.
So a lot of Supernatural fans say thank Chuck instead of thank God.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that is a thing that you maybe said, or people in your family, did Ruth ever say thank Chuck? Or
No. No, but I love it. I love when people say that. Especially after everything that happens, people still refer to Chuck as this God. I'm like, thank you for believing in the goodness. The non-season 15 Chuck, but the other Chuck. No, I can't say that Ruth ever said, thank Chuck, but my kids at times would be like, well, I mean, you're God, so, it's usually, so why can't you let me stay out past midnight, It's like, that's not how that works.
But probably not in a you said so I have to do it way, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's whatever works well for them. That's when they want to acknowledge that. But no, I can't say that Ruth has ever said that. But I truly believe that she's kind of a witch, in a good way. No, I think she's got like some serious powers, and and there have been times where I've seriously been like, hey, I really want this thing to happen, so can you think on it? Will it to happen? Because I think she's got that ability. She's a magic little woman, man. She's a magic little woman, and she'll be like, she'll say things like, oh, I got a good feeling about that, and then it happens. She has good intuition, is what it is. But I'm like, I think one time I was like, well, you're a witch, make it happen. Like, you know that I'm not actually a witch. I played on a TV show that you were on.
She should have said you are God, make it happen.
Yeah, but no, she's more Rowena in that way than I am Chuck. But it's fun. Yeah, she's magic. She's magic.
Thank you.
And your question is? Okay. I can help. Yes.
Okay. Misha today tried to imagine and reenact the way how you were excited to tell Ruth about the role in The Boys. But then you have read the script and have become less excited about it. So I was wondering, how did you actually tell the Ruth about it?
Well, I don't know exactly what he did, but it was probably pretty accurate. Because it really was like, Kripke said, hey, I've got this opportunity for you, but I wanted to know if you're comfortable with nudity. I'm like, oh my God, there's nudity. You know what? For the boys, for Eric, I'd love to be on it. Yes, I'm going to do nudity. Yes, I'll do it. And then he sent me the script. After I said yes, then I'm looking at the script, I was like, oh God. Oh God. So then I told Ruth, and she was like, she's so supportive, I'd like to give a joke of her saying like, oh, but she really heard from the beginning, she was like, oh, it's gonna be good for you. And she was so supportive all the way through, and I sent her pictures, and she loved the way that I looked, everything shaved off. She was like, oh, you look so sexy, you look awesome. And great, and then when it started to come out, she's like, you're on The Boys? This is great. And then it finally came out, I was like, do you want to watch it? She's like, no, I'm okay. She's like, I lived it. And I'm like, you gotta watch it. I was like, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it with me. And she's like, okay, so we want to watch it together. And she's like, then the sauna scene comes on where it's a whole bunch of me going to town on myself. And she's like, oh. She literally did this, oh. I'm like, Rick, you knew this was coming. She's like, I know, but. So, I was telling people in my meeting, the funny thing about The Boys is like, my kids are very humble about whenever I'm acting and stuff. They've had friends of theirs be like huge Supernatural fans, but they're kind of too shy to say like, my dad's in that. So you never really said that. Well, my daughter now, all of a sudden, she's a senior in high school, and she loves when all the boys are talking about, oh, I love The Boys. The Boys is a great show. And she's like, have you seen the scene where... the guy eats his own ass, and the guys are like, yeah, that scene was sick! And she's like, that's my dad.
I knew you were going up to Toronto.
Yeah.
And I knew that Kripke had some things planned for you. I didn't exactly know what. And you and I hadn't talked about what. And then we did talk about what. And the first thing that Rob said to me was, I don't know if I'm going to be able to work after this. I'm concerned. And I was like, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. And
after I played Soldier Boy, like things, people watch the show. It's going to be big.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. It's great. You're going to have fun. It's Kripke, you know. He builds worlds and these characters that are memorable, and it's going to be so fun. And then I watched the season, and more specifically the episode in which Splinter was in, and then I went, I don't know if Rob's going to work out here.
He'll work a lot.
It was disturbing.
Yeah.
And I'm of course up there right now. I say up there because Canada is above the United States, so we just refer to Canada as being up there. And I'm up there right now, and working with the crew again, and the crew was like, oh, Rob. That got deep. Pun intended. I did tell you this, and I'll tell them this, that the crew, including the visual effects, the head of visual effects, Stephen Fleet, who, if you ever see this, please don't do anything bad to me in visual effects. You're amazing. All of them said that they sang his praises as to just what a lovely person, what a trooper, what an absolute professional and great human being he was. And then I just asked, I was like, we're talking about Rob Benedict, right? Because I don't know if we're talking about. So he did leave an impression that I will say probably paved the way, because I certainly didn't, paved the way for the fact that Jared and Misha are on the show right now. And I mean that. I had to, and this is no secret, I had to jump through some hoops to get Soldier Boy. That wasn't something that Kripke called me up and was like, hey, I've got a role for you. I had to earn that role. And then when I got on set, I did my best. And I think that maybe cracked the door open for maybe another Supernatural alumni to come through. And Rob was the next and kicked the door wide open. And then that's when Kripke, I mean, I'm just, you know, thinking about this out loud, but I really think that that's when the cast and crew of The Boys was like, bring them on, whoever you got, bring them on.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament to Kripke and the worlds he builds, the sandboxes that he builds for us to play in, and the people he gets to play in those boxes.
Yeah. And the trust we have in him to be that vulnerable.
Yeah.
To take our clothes off. But to be that vulnerable, you know, and he's the same.
My first day on set.
You name it.
I'm the new guy. And this is what I look like naked.
Yeah. Totally.
Show us?
Yeah, I met all those actors. I was rarely clothed for 3 months. Yeah, no, you know, and it's true. When we're on set, you know, they loved what Jensen did so much and loved him and sang his praises, and Supernatural to them is almost like the mothership, you know, because it was, you know, Kripke, from the Kripke-verse. It means a lot to them, like Supernatural. So, you know, tell me, you know. And here's the show that I watched. Was a big fan of The Boys. So it was funny to be on set and they're kind of revering you and then by proxy me and the whole show and so it was pretty cool. Just as we're like Kripke's first children.
Yeah. From his first marriage.
From his first marriage. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, what's good is that I didn't look like myself. So
I think you did. I mean, in what way?
If there was someone who's going to be like, well, I'm not going to hire that guy, well, they don't know what I look like.
What?
You said I don't think Rob will ever work again.
Yeah. But you have.
Yeah, I have.
And you're fine.
That's true.
I can't say so much for Jared and Misha.
No, I mean, what's great about it, honestly, like for me, is like it's just fun as an actor, as a character actor, to be able to play so many different looks, so many different people, and so it's like on the wheel of parts that there are, it's like, well, I hadn't done that, so check,
Well, and that's that's a lot of that's something interesting because most of audiences of entertainment gravitate generally towards the star of the show or the star of the movie, and sometimes those stars burn bright and die quickly. And there's a massive culture in our industry of journeymen, of people who continually work constantly and fill in all of that supporting aspect of every star. And in my opinion, like there should be an entire Oscar Awards ceremony for those people, and not just supporting actor. Though generally supporting actors are also stars. But when you talk about the real people who have worked continuously and who have continued to grind in this industry and are journeymen, and those are really the backbone of this entire industry. And I actually would love to consider myself one of those because I continually like job to job to job to job to job, and Rob is that way, and a lot of the guys here are that way. They don't view it as I want to find the glorification in this project. They want to find the craftsmanship in the project, and you get to check those boxes. You like, I crafted that. Perfect. Now I can move on to the next, crafting assignment.
Yeah.
And I love that about our industry. My father was one of those people, and so I always appreciate the people that have continually had a career in this industry that don't get sung praises.
Yeah.
Those are the people, in my opinion, that do deserve it the most. When those people get praised and get maybe, a starring role in something, you just know they're going to deliver because they're absolutely equipped with all of the tools to craft anything that you need. And that's a special skill that I don't think a lot of the stars have.
Yeah. I feel like I could write a book sometimes of just like being on so many different sets and seeing so many different actors.
Because it's not just about the role.
Right.
I mean, you guys have to understand, like, you're only acting, on a 12-hour day, you're probably performing on camera maybe an hour,
right,
at most.
Yeah.
So the other 11 hours that you're on set, you're dealing with personalities, you're dealing with being a human to the crew and to the other castmates, and making yourself a viable asset to that production, and that's a skill. That is an absolute skill.
Yeah.
One that he has honed brilliantly, and a lot of the guys here have. And it's not something that gets talked about a lot. To be on set and to be amongst a cast of many different types of people, and to be amongst a crew who come from all different, parts of the world, and to find commonality and to rally a team together and produce a product that gets sold and you can be proud of. That's the work goes. The real work, in my opinion, goes on behind it, like when the cameras aren't rolling.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Your beard is perfect. Just the contours, the lines. I'm getting this from the sideline, which I think is Italian for get off the stage.
Oh, I thought we were doing this together. We're not doing this together?
We were, but just for like 5 minutes, I guess. Now I'm going.
All right.
You.
Get the fuck out of here.
All right. I love you, man. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
She's crazy like food.
Do I have somebody else coming up? I gotta do this by myself?
Scary.
We don't bite.
I don't like to be by myself in situations. How does Mark Shepard do it?
Next question. No, next question. Yes, next question.
Can I do that? No, didn't think so. Do I want to? Not really. I'll tell you what I know in a way that doesn't make sense. It's the art of saying everything without telling you anything.
Know that.
All right. You can do it. Hi.
Hi. Actually, my question is about the subject that we're kind of talking about. I was asking if you watch the Academy Awards very often. I mean, if you have like a ritual of always watching the movies or liking to see the ceremonies, and if there is like a movie that you really liked that won, or actor, actresses, or one that you really got disappointed that didn't win.
I watch some award shows. I guess I don't put a lot of stock into awards. They're nice for those that win or get nominated. I think it's a nice feather in the cap. And I do feel like there are projects and there are performances that should be honored. And I'm glad that we have awards that do that. But I guess I've gotten to a point where it's not something that's a necessity for being successful. Because I think the success comes from different aspects of life. This is success to me. I guarantee you there are people with Oscars in their houses that can't get this many people to show up 15 years in a row. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying there are different things that I think you can hang success on. Would I like to have awards, or would I like to be honored with an award? Of course, that feels good. Are there movies or shows that get awarded awards that I'm like, what? Yes, I think we can all agree on that. Are there ones that don't get awards and you're like, how? I think we can all agree on that. the award system is, and I've never been involved in like being nominated or campaigning for the upper tier awards. I've won a few awards, which has been great, and that's again something that is it's a really nice pat on the back. But success to me is not, doesn't hinge on that. It's an interesting industry when it comes to awards, and I'm not saying that this movie wasn't deserving of the accolades that it got, but you talk about Nora, and it won a slew of awards, but they spent, I think, double the amount of money on the marketing for the movie and the campaign that they did for the movie itself. So I don't know what that says about our industry, and maybe it's something that needs to be addressed, but it probably won't. And again, I think I think that Mikey and that whole movie certainly deserved accolades for what they had done. But it's an interesting industry when it comes to awards because I guess the big question is, are they bought? And you could make an argument for that. You could. So I don't put a lot of weight into what those awards say about projects or people. I put it into what those projects or those actors, what the reputation is, or what it does for the art, or what it does for the industry. How do they move the needle in making making this a better industry to be a part of? So I guess, I don't know, did that answer your question at all? No!
Not so much, but
That's a hard one to answer. Sorry. Hi.
Hi. My question is not so serious. I was wondering, since it was April Fool's a few days ago, if you were a part of an April Fool jokes, or someone did an April Fool jokes on you. Maybe not this year, but some that you remember. Like a good one.
So that day, I remember specifically, because it was a day where Jared and Misha and I, who were all staying at the same hotel in Toronto right now, had a very early call. It was like we were supposed to be downstairs in the car at 6 a.m. And Misha and I was down there at 6. Misha was down there at like 6:03. And we were in the van. We were waiting for Jared. I know, not shocking. 6:10, 6:12, 6:15, 6:20. I called him. And he didn't answer. I texted him. He didn't answer. Called him again. He didn't answer. Misha's like, should I go have the front desk call his room? I'm like, probably. Misha gets out of the van, goes inside. I call him again. He answers. Yeah. Jared. Yeah. We've been in the car for almost a half an hour. Oh, yeah. No, I'm downstairs. I'm coming downstairs. Okay. And I wanted to be like, April Fools, you've got another hour to sleep. And I had this whole thing like, this is what I'm going to do. but the desperation in his voice. Because it's the worst feeling, being late for work. Like, especially on a set when you have an entire, 100-person crew waiting for you. You have cast, you have directors, everybody's waiting for you, and you're the one person holding it up. It's the worst. And I've unfortunately had that happen to me a couple of times in my long career. And it just feels the worst. And I could hear that in his voice when he woke up. He's like, my alarm didn't go off! And I just was like, I wanted to say April Fool's so bad. I was like, April Fool's, you can go back to sleep. And I would have happily waited another hour for him. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And he was in such a way. And I quickly called Misha. I was like, hey, don't call up. I just talked to him. He's on his way down. So he came down, and he's already sweating. He was already like, my alarm didn't go off. Do you guys ever have that? And I'm just like, okay, I can't mess with him today. Today is off the table. It's April Fool's, and it's off the table. And he was so flustered and felt so, because I mean we've been working, obviously Supernatural aside, we've been working on The Boys at that point for 3 or 4 days. And Jared is notoriously late. Notoriously late. Supernatural alone, I could list a million, examples. He's gotten much better in his older age. And for this, and he knew, and I knew this, I didn't even have to talk to him about it. I knew that he knew that he was a guest in somebody else's house. Because I'm a guest in somebody else's house when I go to The Boys. And you try to be as professional as you possibly can. And one of those tenets of being professional is showing up on time. And he missed his call, he missed his alarm that morning, and the rest of the day was shot as far as messing with him, because I was like, I can't mess with the guy, he's already broken. So to answer your question, April Fool's came and went because Jared messed it up for all of us.
So it was April Fool's on you?
It was really April Fool's on us. Yeah. It was a long joke.
You can do it.
And he won. Yeah, so that's what happened April 1st.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hello.
It's not going to be a deep dive, it's something easy. I wanted to ask about ad-libs. Okay. I have thousands of questions about them, but really I wanted to know 3 things. If when you're reading the script, there's something coming to mind and you think, maybe I could try that, or not. If that happens, do you sometimes warn your screen partner? Because sometimes it looks like Jared knows that you're going to say something that's an ad-lib, and he starts to grin, but not just on Supernatural, on other programs. And the other question was, are there some directors that you just get the feeling that you can ad-lib with them, whereas others you probably shouldn't?
So to answer your first part of the question, yes, when I read a script, I'll read lines, and there's sometimes an idea will pop into my head, and I'll write it out to the side of the script. I'll be like, oh, this might also be a good line, or this might be a funny ad, or this might be an emotional ad. So that can happen when I read the script. But more often than not, it happens when you're on set and you're doing the scene, and something, now all of a sudden you're hearing the words out loud with your scene partner, and they're saying it a certain way, and you're saying it a certain way, and then you realize, man, this would be an interesting line to say, or a funny line to say, or a more emotional line to say. And so a lot of times it happens kind of in the moment. there are times when I'll get the idea in the previous take, and then they say cut, and then I'll tell Jared, I'll be like, hey, when I say, I'm not going to say that line, I'm going to say this. And I'll be like, oh, yeah. So he'll immediately adjust in his head, like how he's going to react to it or whatever. But a lot of times I won't tell him. Or a lot of times I didn't tell him. And I'll just do it and see what he does. And he and I know each other so well, and we worked together for so long, that I know what he can, I know that he's capable of playing if I throw him a curveball. And he is. And there's a lot of it. I mean, Rob and Rich and, you know, Matt and Misha, like all those guys, like there are certain people that you work with that you just know that they can handle going off script in a way that makes it a viable option. And so I always like to look for those options. Always want to get it as scripted. Always want to give the writers what they spent time writing. I always want to deliver that. But then I might ask for like, give me one more take. And I'll do something different that just came to mind. And they might use it, they might not, but at least I got that out. Because sometimes I'm like, if I don't say it, it's gonna burn a hole in my head. And so I will either do it in the moment, or I will plan it and tell people this is what I'm gonna do. And if you get the trust of the director, and you get the trust of other castmates to let you do this, it's a really beautiful place to be in. I was given that on Countdown, and I was able to really play, and I was encouraged to play. And so the other actors that I worked with, they were kind of always ready. They were like, "What are you going to say next?" And there were some scenes where I would do it off camera. I would just change it up to just mess with them and see if it whatever they got. And I will say that one of the great gratifications I get, going back to the award conversation, one of the greatest awards I ever get is making the crew laugh. If I hear audible laughter from the crew from something that I just said in the moment, or an ad-lib, or something that I've done, that is such a reward for me. I get so much joy in that. I think it's also part of just loving what I do and being present with characters and the actors and the crew and the story and the action and being able to be comfortable enough in that to play.
You feel the connection.
Yeah, and that's a really beautiful place to be in your work environment. Yeah. And you don't just have to be on camera to do that. Like any industry, like if you're that comfortable with your coworkers to be able to go off script in a way that might make it better, and that they have the confidence in you to do that. That's a really, really great place to be. And I'm thankful now that I'm where I'm at in my career, where I'm able to do that a lot, and it's a lot of fun.
When you were filming Tracker and you were Russell and you were talking to the mortuary lady and you were asking her out, and you said so close. Mm-hmm. And Justin's laugh was as if he didn't expect you to say that at all.
That was an ad-lib.
Yeah.
But again, that goes with, I've known Justin for 20 years, and he and I are dear friends. And also the head writer of that show is somebody I worked with before as well.
On Big Sky.
On Big Sky, yeah, Elwood. And he's like, play, man. I'm just gonna get you two on camera, you guys just play. He's like, you know, what I wrote, that's just a suggestion. Do whatever, you know, do what you feel. And so Justin and I were able to play. And this is something a lot of people don't know. Justin's one of the funniest people I know. He is outrageously smart and witty and funny. His humor is like sharp. And one of the reasons why I consider him a dear friend, because he makes me laugh a lot. He doesn't play that on camera. And I'm like, dude, you're so funny. He's like, nah, that's not the role. And I'm like, you got it. All right, well, I'm going to. And he's like, okay, you do it.
It's like straight man and funny.
Yeah, straight man, funny man. And I was like, I can play that role. And he's like, well, I can play the straight man. But it also takes somebody who understands comedy to play a straight role. Some of the best comedic geniuses in entertainment have been the straight man.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason Bateman's probably one of the best in the business. And he is hilarious. But he plays opposite funny guys so well. And so I think in order to play that role and do it with success, you have to understand comedy. And Justin understands comedy more than people think.
Hopefully we'll see him in a comedic role.
I hope so too. Yeah, he's very funny. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Hi.
My question is about Soulja Boy. So, is there any line or a quote from Soulja Boy that you have unintentionally let slip in public?
Okay, say it again.
Is there any line or a quote from Soulja Boy that you have unintentionally let slip in public?
And I can't say in public?
No. Let slip. Let slip. Yeah.
Oh, that I let slip.
Yeah.
No. But there is a lot of things that Soulja Boy has said that weren't scripted. I can't tell you. Because then that'll tell you something about me. Let's just say that when I get into when I put that suit on, which by the way, you know that like the cast chairs on The Boys, they're like director's chairs. Everybody's seen those, right? Yeah. They're high chairs, like this, right? They've got the back with the name on it and the project on the back. So on The Boys, we have the low chairs, which are, regular chairs with the names on the back and stuff. I can't sit down because of the chest thing, and this doesn't bend, and so I have to do this. Very sexy. And it is, and I'm also wearing an entire underlayer under that so that it goes on, because it's like tacky, the fabric. So I have to wear like compression pants, compression shirts, full length sleeves, full length legs, and then I slide these things on. It takes me plus 2 costume people to put me together. And then I'm just in this thing, walking around all day, and like, I sit down and I'm just like, and it's not comfortable. And I, you do scenes and you're trying to move normal and you're trying to do these things and it's you get hot and it's cold up in Toronto. I'm sweating in that thing. So at the end of the day, I'm just peeling everything off, just like, oh. This is not answering your question at all. I just thought I'd take a moment and tell you the misery that I have to go through to play this role. But I will say that the writers have come up with things that I wouldn't have come up with. But the problem is when they go there, then my brain goes there, because that's what I have to say. And then all of a sudden, I'm in that frame of thought, and I start coming up with even worse things to say. And I'm not proud of it.
You should be.
But my mother's not, I can tell you that much.
But we appreciate it a lot.
But yes, there are certain, I guess when I get into Soldier Boy's like frame of mind and I start talking like him and I start saying the things that he says, it lends itself to adding things that maybe aren't scripted, that my mind comes up with, and then I'm like, I need to take a shower for more reasons than sweating. And yeah, Kripke's been on set this past week, and he wasn't necessarily focused on what I was doing, because I didn't have much dialogue. There was other actors and cameos and stuff that were happening, so he was dealing with that. But I do remember when I came and did a little cameo on Gen V. And Kripke happened to be on set that day, and I had all the words. And he was throwing out lines to me, and then I was coming up with lines that would top his lines, and then he would try to top my lines, and so it was just this back and forth of like, who could come up with the most disgusting words possible, and that's the beauty of art. Who won?
Yeah.
So.
Is it your line or?
What's that?
Was it your line or?
So.
Yeah.
We both won because they ended up using a cut of all the lines. They couldn't pick one, so they ended up using like 3 or 4 of them. And I forget who came up with what, but I know I came up with at least 1 or 2 of them. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you know when I'm talking to the kids, and I'm saying stuff, and it's not nice. There was one point at which I said the same thing, but in like 3 or 4 different ways. That was only supposed to be said in one way, and Kripke and I kept coming up with different ways to say it, and he was like, yeah, and then they just cut all of those together, and that was the final product. So, I've got some scenes coming up, and I just had some scenes, and with a young lady on the show.
Yeah.
And I said some things. And I'm gonna say some things. And I can only say that I have the excuse of being another person when I'm saying them. It's not me. I'm not saying them. Soldier Boy is saying them. I would never. Thank you. Yeah, we all need to shower.
So I'm Sean Creation, and I'm a teacher. I teach elementary school, like the little kids. And, there's a lot of different kids, a lot of different personalities. Some are easier to work with, some not. And I was wondering, how were you at school? Were you teacher's pet, or
In what grade?
first
First grade to fourth grade, so like lower school stuff. I was a problem. Not in a bad way. I was, you know, I talked too much. I was social. I was a little rambunctious as a kid. So probably not the teacher's pet, but not somebody that they, you know, were mad with. They were just like, as I got older and into high school, then I became a teacher's pet. Just because I work the system. I will say there were teachers that saw that I had potential, which I think this is one of the greatest gifts that teachers have, is identifying children that need a little extra work to get them there. And I was kind of one of those kids. I was distracted a lot. I mean, they called it, I was clinically diagnosed with ADD, not ADHD, although I think it's all ADHD now, but it was ADD and ADHD back then. I just had ADD. I wasn't like, you know, moving around and couldn't sit still. I was like this. But my brain was 1,000 miles away. So the teachers thought I was like, look, he's a great student. He's always paying attention. Like, yeah, but I'm not hearing a word you're saying.
Sorry, I clarify. Mr. Eccles, what is your favorite part of Mr. Paving? Do you like how tall he is, or how charming?
No, I don't like how tall Jared is.
Why not?
Because it ruins takes.
But I like it so much.
And I think that, honestly, I think it makes him a worse actor.
Okay, thank you for your question. I don't like your answer. Sorry, I'm grabbing this dude and taking him away.
I told him about your April Fool's joke on me.
Which one?
Sleeping in.
Oh, yeah. That was the worst feeling. Like, I don't mind being late on my own set, but
I told him that too. I was like, I can speak from experience. I was like, I'm not going to mess with this guy today.
I know. No, you went easy. But also, did you say that in the car? Oh shit. Okay.
Just a little apple juice to keep us going.
That's a good apple. That's good apple juice. I will say this. On the way, yes, Ackles and Misha were very generous with me, with not beating me up because I'd already beat myself up too much. But even in the car ride from the hotel to set, I set 3 alarms for like, you know, if it's 6:40, I was like 6:41. Alarm didn't go off. And I was like, there's nothing! Sucked.
You don't have to make excuses. All right, that's it for me, you guys. Thank you so much. Hang on. Wait. I didn't get to fully answer the question, although I think I did. I went off on a tangent. But I would like you to ask him the same question. And this is like a lower school, elementary school teacher.
Bring it.
And she asked, the question was, what kind of student were you, basically? Were you a teacher's pet or were you like a teacher's pain? And I think that's an interesting way to start. Jared Padalecki, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
So you're a teacher?
Yes, like lower grades.
In Hungary, yes. I was kind of half teacher's pet, half teacher's pain. I would do well on my tests, but I would talk a lot.
She's like, no, you're not supposed to be here.
They were like, my parents would be like, your teacher's saying you talk a lot. And I was like, I got an A, I did a good job. So they're like, yeah, true. So it was kind of the worst of the worst. But thank you for my mother's a teacher as well. They're retired, but all right, I love you guys. I can't remember this.